Guys, as you know, cybercrime awareness and cybersecurity have been a passion of mine for some years now, and I've tried hard to highlight a lot of things that need to be highlighted. Uh, I'll keep switching between Hindi and English. I hope that's okay. Despite all my humble, minimal efforts that I have put in, मुझे फिर भी ऐसा लगता है कि I don't think we talk about these things enough from the victim's point of view. I don't think we highlight the victim's plight actually a lot, especially because our point of view towards the victims is that even if you are targeted by cyber criminals and you don't lose money, the prevalent attitude of the law enforcement is that ठीक है पैसा तो नहीं गया ना, कुछ नहीं हुआ, which is like saying that तुम्हारे घर के अंदर चोर घुस गए लेकिन पैसे नहीं चुरा पाए, तो that's not a big deal, which is quite an insensitive point of view to take, because the victim has still gone through a lot of angst. Their defenses have been breached. They are questioning themselves. They are in a very bad state of mind. So you are disrespecting the victims by telling them that just because you haven't lost money or lost something, you are not a victim. A similar case was brought to my attention earlier this week. It's a lady who has gone through an attempt at defrauding her of money through a very organized and very convincing manner. And the purpose of today's live is to understand what happened from her point of view, because like I said, we don't talk about the victims enough, and Smita Jacob has agreed to come forward and talk about what she went through. So without wasting any further time, I'm just going to take Smita on the live. Smita, can we start off by introducing you just a little about yourself?
Sure. I'm Smita Jacob, and I work in the public policy space. I've been primarily actually working with the government for the last 17 plus years, and work a lot in the development sector, primarily on rural development. But yeah, that's mostly about me. And I was based in Mumbai until very recently, and I've moved states. So I just went through a large relocation, and this call happened actually right after that.
So tell us about the call. Tell us about the call you received. When it was it, and what exactly happened?
So like I said, I had just moved cities. I've just moved to a new job, and I was just settling in. It was actually my first proper settled day, and I got this call from the telecom department. I think just I usually use Truecaller, but iPhone disables Truecaller, so that's another problem, and I'm just getting used to that as well, and that's the problem. So I picked up because I wasn't picking a lot of unknown numbers, but this one I had to pick because a lot of people calling these days on this. So I got an automated message saying this from the telecom department and TRAI. It was an automated AI generated call saying that all numbers in your name are going to be disconnected in the next couple of hours, and if you did not make this request, please press 9. I still remember I was taking this call and I was also in the middle of a work meeting. So I actually took it on speaker. So the two people in front of me also took it, and they were like, this is really strange. And for a second, I think we all looked at each other like, is this some bogus thing? I think because I had just moved cities and I'm also in a place where I'm still getting used to it and I'm not very familiar with the language, I was like, at least this is customer care. If I can sort it out in a couple of, clicks, then this is easier than walking in to a store and trying to figure this out. And I just didn't want my phone disabled. So I was like, okay, let me just go through with this. And so I pressed 9, and I got connected then to what seemed to be customer care from the telecom department. I must say the actors were very much on point. I work with the government, and this guy sounded exactly like someone who works out of a government of India office in Delhi, and at no point was there any pressure for me to take any action. So he just said, yeah, yes, tell me, why did you call me? So first a couple of seconds we argued because I said, I didn't call you, you called me. And he said, no, you have called me. So I said, okay, wait, I got an automated message, I've been directed to you. So that's how this call actually started. And so he said, look, we've got instructions. Apparently there are some complaints, and he didn't even use the word police. He just said complaints registered against the number that you're using. And because of that, police has asked us to disconnect all numbers under your name. So I said, okay, can you tell me what phone number this is? Because I just felt like, what if this is not my number? And indeed, it was not my number. He read out a number and he said, you stay in Andheri East, right, in Mumbai.
Right.
So I said, no, I don't stay there. And then he read out an address and I was like, no, this is not my address. So he said, anyways, this SIM card is linked to your name. And he knew my name. He knew my full name. So he said, this is linked to your name and to your Aadhaar. And I can't read out your Aadhaar number for security reasons. But at every point he was just like, please, if you want to disable this request, you need to go to Andheri's police station. Now that was exactly the hunch that I was not in Mumbai. I've just moved out like 10 days ago and I'm not going to be visiting back for another month. So I said, look, I can't come back immediately. I'm only going to be able to come back visit Mumbai in a month. I'm currently traveling. So what do I do? So he said, then I don't know what to do. He said, that's on you. I have to disable this connection. This is as per the orders we have received. So I said, but there has to be some way. So I said, I'm in another state. So can I go to the local police station here? Like, is there something? Like, I was like, why does it have to be Andheri East police station? I should be able to go to any police station. So he said, no, the FIR is registered with Andheri East police station. So you need to physically go there. And at all points, in fact, for a long time in the call, they kept repeating this part that I have to appear at Andheri's police station in the next 1 hour or 2 hours. And that was the problem, that I wasn't there. So then he said, see, I don't know how to help you. What I can do is give you the FIR number. And then it is between Mumbai police and you. So he said, I think you should sort this out with Mumbai police because I can't do anything. And he gave me the name, he gave me the number, he gave me an FIR number, which looked very legit. Yeah, because I'm familiar with government filing system numbers and all of that, and it was an actual FIR number and also the address and the date the SIM card was purchased. And that was one thing. Like when I saw the date, that particular date I was flying from somewhere else to Mumbai. So I was like, okay, I have a flight ticket to prove I did not purchase this SIM card. So I said, how can this happen? So he said, your Aadhaar has been compromised. So I said, okay, so what do I do? So he said, get a clearance certificate from Mumbai police. So I said, okay, I'll call Mumbai police. He said, no, this call only gets automatically transferred. And I mean, all of this time, this is on speaker, and there are still two other people in the room listening to this, and we are like playing along. We are like, acha, dekhte hain what happens, right? And I go through with that, and the next person, I've called Mumbai police, numerous times. I'm familiar with how, the interface is. And the interface was very much on point, right? It was the same thing, like this is Mumbai police and, this is our motto and we're here to help you and all of that. There was this script, right? And this person was like, okay, please tell me. So I said, so I have been transferred from this department call and I apparently like something like this has happened. So I said, anyways, so I said, I'm supposed to read out this FIR number to you and then you're supposed to suggest to me what are the next steps. So I read out the FIR number and he said, okay. And he was very patient. He said, firstly, please don't panic. We are here. Mumbai police is here to serve the citizens and we are here to help. And this is a standard thing. Like nowadays, they've become like that even on the actual helpline. Yeah. So he said that there was no aggression. That's what I'm trying to say. At no point was there any aggression or any force. So he said that, okay, we're here to help. So he said, typically, like basically you're supposed to appear on this same thing, Andheri's police station. So this is all a phone call, right? So I said, okay. I said, but I'm not there right now. I said, that's exactly why I'm on a call with you because I can't. I said, otherwise I would have just come there. So he said, okay. He said, let me see. He said, so recently there has been a provision where we are able to take a video statement, because he said this is not, there is no offense committed by you. This is purely a case of an identity theft as per what you are saying. So we should be able to take this on a video. So I was like, okay, in this case, then I'm the complainant, right? So I was like, okay, so I'm not the person who is being questioned. So he said, I will take your statement. I'm not the accused. Exactly. So I was like, okay, this sounds very feasible where I'm not the accused, I'm the complainant and they're going to take a video statement. They process it. So he said, let us try. He said, I can't guarantee this will all be done in the next 2 hours by the time Try disconnects your number, but let's do it. And meanwhile, he ran me through so he sent me he said there is a number, can you just WhatsApp this FIR number to this number and nothing else, just my name and the FIR number. So I then WhatsApped that number, and on that WhatsApp number, by the way, so that number is, by the way, very similar to the actual Mumbai Police WhatsApp helpline number.
Okay.
And it's hilarious because Mumbai Police could have got any number, but it's not a particularly special number. It's some 8 starting number, very random number. And this phone number also was very similar. So, and it had the logo of Mumbai Police. In fact, the status says that please call on this number anytime
Right.
we are here to help the citizens. All of that, right? A very standard thing. So I said, okay. And I'm not revealing any confidential details. It's the FIR number and my name. So I sent
Right.
that. And then in return, they sent me a letter which is gone from them to the telecom department saying that this person and all her numbers, there have been complaints, so please disconnect this. So they said that this is the document we have sent now to telecom department. And see, again, now because I work with the government, there's a lot of respect for paperwork. So I'm like, okay, there's the paperwork is there, they're actually saying this. So I said, okay. I said, still at that point I said, okay, I understand. And okay, this and the funny thing is, I just went through a porting with my telecom provider. So I know that it's not that easy anymore to walk into a shop and get a SIM card anymore. They have to
Right.
take a they have to take a photo live of you, the Aadhaar and all of that, and it's done live. You can't just submit documents and run
Right.
away. So I was very surprised that a SIM was purchased in my Aadhaar number, and I haven't. And also through this entire time, like at this point the call has already gone on, like there's a lot of waiting, all of that, the music, all that is there, and they are like full time telling me, can you try to recollect how your Aadhaar got compromised, like with whom did you share your Aadhaar. And actually, I'm very particular. I don't share my Aadhaar. I never actually give it as an identity proof to anyone either. I
Right.
use some other kind of identity proof.
Right.
So he kept asking me, and then I kept trying to think. And I remembered one person that I had shared it with in the last month. And I said, I have shared it with this one person. I can check with that person if it has been leaked or if their phone got compromised or something like that. But typically, I don't share. So he said, okay, but someone has access to your Aadhaar, and this is a little risky because anything can happen with, that.
Right.
So I
Right.
said, okay. And all this, and so he said that you need to fill up a form, a self-declaration form that you never purchased this SIM card. And after this, we'll send a clarification to the tribe, and then they will not block your existing number. They will just block that number. So this
Right.
is the whole process. So I'm going through with the process, right? At this point, he then, while I'm still on hold, he also speaks to, like, there's a wireless conversation where he says, this is the FIR number, please give me the details. And then they
Right.
say, oh, this phone number is also linked to the Naresh Goyal money laundering case. So at this point, I was like, what? Like, and I remember just thinking, this is either hilarious or tragic because, like, I don't know which way I'm going to look at this.
Right.
So then he, like, and it was a completely rehearsed conversation, over, out, and all accused to be immediately brought to the police station and all of that. That conversation. So he said, "Did you hear
Right.
this?" So I said, "Yeah, I kind of overheard it, but it'll be helpful if you can repeat it." So he said, your number is linked to the Naresh Goyal money laundering case. And this is a very big case. It's directly actually under the CBI and the ED. And I
Right.
think these are two words today, which is very scary to a lot of citizens because a lot of cases are coming up all the time. So it's like, okay. So he said, ma'am, now we need to complete an investigation. So it's really important that we take your statement. So I said, okay. I said, so again, I asked that, shall I go, to the local police station, the same conversation. So he said, no, because this is, so then they sent me another document, which was a document that this case comes under the National Secrecy Act. And
Right.
so I needed to take an oath that your fourth, whatever investigation is going to happen, is going to, like, I cannot reveal the details. And he
Right.
mentioned this many times, even to my family, to anyone. So he said, and because of the nature of the case, we're going to continue with this call, but we are going to call you back now on a video call. And he said there are certain conditions in which you have to release this because we are recording your statement. You need to be alone in a room. Nobody else can have access to that room. You need to be by yourself. So I said, okay. And I remember I didn't really panic. I was just listening. And so I said, okay, I'm currently in my office. So he said, "Do you have access to a cabin?" So I said, "I am sitting in a cabin." So he said, "Then let's just take this call there." So I said, "No, I think it is better if I can just go to my residence because I'll be more comfortable there and I can take this call there." So he said, "No,
Right.
because of the nature of the case, and we've already revealed it to you, we can't allow you to take any time now in between. We need to do this. Just lock your cabin." I said, "I don't have a lock." So he said, "Just sit down and please show us on video that you're completely alone in this room." And year fourth, I think this is like probably 45 minutes
Right.
into this call,
Right.
everything got really tense because then it became like a investigation, and at no point were they asking me. So he said, and he was, so I just was sitting. So he said, "Do you have access to water?" Because he said, if I was doing this in the police station, I would have offered you a glass of water. So
Right.
he made sure. He said, "Please drink water. Please, ma'am, calm down." Like you, and I was okay. I said, "Yeah, I'm calm. Don't worry." So he just kept saying, if you are innocent and you have not done anything, then you have nothing to worry. You just need to be 100% honest and do not hide any information
Right.
from us. So I said,
Right.
"Okay." So then I'm going through with this. And then I think there was a I remember at that point I also asked him, I said, "So I need to know who you are because, nowadays you all only release a lot of information, there's a lot of these scams." So I said, "How do I know I'm talking to a police officer?" Like, so I
Right.
said this. And so at that point, he sent me his ID. So this was somebody called Pradeep Sawant. His ID had been sent, and he said, "This is who I am." And there was a very brief, about, I want to say, 3 to 4 minutes, where there was a person dressed as a cop. And again, it
Right.
was not very perfect. Like every typical government or police call, the camera was shaking
Right.
and it's like connectivity nahi hai. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is just like every police station."
Right.
So he was like, "Okay." And he said, "Because it's a National Secrecy Act, we are not going to be on video now." So I was like, "Why? That makes no sense." So I said, "But why?" He said, "Because we can't afford to compromise our identity.
Right.
Because they said, like, there are so many senior people involved and people are getting transferred the moment we are starting investigations. So we cannot afford that. So we are not
Right.
going to." They said, "Even if we were doing this investigation in the police station, it would be done in a way that you can't see us." And I was like, "Okay, this is some high tech shit." So I was like, "Okay, whatever." So
Right.
I was like, "Okay, like, let's just go through," right? Like, he was just like, "Please," the one phrase they kept using throughout was, "Please cooperate with us through this investigation." So, because they said, if you choose to end it, then that can be used against you, that,
Right.
you are trying to flee, right? And they said, if you have nothing to hide, then you should not be fleeing. So I was like, "Okay." And then this, like, he was like, it got into, like, those typical investigations which go into all areas of your life, like who you
Right.
are, where you
Right.
were born, what
Right.
did your parents do, what is your source of income, what's your parents' source of income, uh, how many assets do you have, like, those kind of things. Because obviously, because it was money laundering, I just assumed they were
Right.
asking these things. And at different points, I also remember saying that I'm not going to share anything confidential. So they would always get upset. They were like, "Did we ask you
Right.
anything? Did we ask you anything? We didn't ask you anything confidential."
Mm.
And I could not even, by the way, like, if I'm sitting like this, like, this is exactly how I was sitting. If I would just look like this, they would yell at me. Like, "Why have you averted your eyes? What are you looking at?" Or if someone was walking into my cabin, I had to keep saying, "Don't come." So then they would say, "Move your video around and show us who's come." So, but at some point,
Right.
without looking down at the paper, I, on a piece of paper, wrote down all the things that I should not reveal, no matter what the
Right.
level of pressure.
Right.
And that was something that was really helpful. And I also took this video call on my computer because I thought it would be a good
Okay.
idea, because then I can check things, I can Google things at least. Because I was like, I
Right.
can't WhatsApp anyone because I don't know if they've hacked my WhatsApp. And then they will, they said there is some particular clause, if you break it, then that
Right.
also causes imprisonment and stuff.
Right.
So
Right.
I put that paper in front of me. So I had written down things I will not reveal under any circumstances, which is my birth date, the security question in the banking account, the bank account numbers, OTP, of course, like, I think now we all know this,
Right.
and any other, like, kind of banking data. So I put this paper actually in front of me. So I was
Right.
like, no matter what they ask, this details I will not share under any circumstance.
Right.
And I just went through, and they asked me about any other legal cases. So and I told this to you as well, Gautam. Like, I think
Yeah.
the one thing that helped me a lot was really all the references on the show wedding.com. Because it really explains the psychology more than anything
Yeah.
else of
Right.
financial fraud, right?
Mm, mm,
And they
mm.
try to pick on like one thing which they think is a
Right.
weak point, which society has
Right.
punished you for,
Right.
and they try to kind of make that into a big thing. So for example, like I'm divorced, and that's just something that's happened 10 years ago, and they
Mm.
picked on that. So they were like, tell
Right.
us the details of that case, what happened, why did it
Right.
happen.
Mm.
And at some point I just said, I need to understand how is this related to this case. Like, I'm
Right.
not good because I knew. So I also had written that
Right.
don't get bogged down by
Mm.
anything. Just don't get bogged down. I wrote that also on
Right.
my on that
Right.
trip, that don't
Right.
feel bogged down. So yeah,
Mm.
that was really helpful to have
Mm.
watched that series, understand that. And I want to say this second actor, this guy, right?
Mm.
He was
Mm.
really good. Like, he was very
Mm.
on point. He had the right, I would say, mix of being polite, firm,
Right.
empathy, and also saying, but I'm really just doing my duty, right? So I have to. Like, so it was a mix of these things, and I was like, okay, I get it. The only thing that did not fit and which kept playing in my head was the
Mm.
way he said my name. So he said Smita, which is
Uh-huh.
a very Malayali or Tamilian
Mm.
pronunciation
Mm.
of my name.
Right.
And I
Which is
was like, okay,
incongruous
so
with the Mumbai police officer
with
or
his
CBI officer
name.
based in
His name
Mumbai.
was
Yeah.
Pradeep Sawant.
Pradeep Sawant.
And I am
Yeah.
thinking throughout that this guy doesn't
Mm.
sound like a Sawant at all. Like, that's the
Right.
only thing that I was like, why is this not fitting? Like, why is this not fitting? At some point, I was like, should I do my usual thing of asking, are you a Malu? And then try to bond? Then I was
Mm.
like, no,
Mm.
I'm not sure
Mm.
that's going to fly in this
Right.
situation. So I was like, okay,
Right.
I should just let me see. And then he finally said,
Mm.
okay, after about half an hour of this
Mm.
grilling, he said, okay, I'm convinced that I think you're innocent. And this is
Mm.
purely, as you started at the beginning, saying
Mm.
that this is an identity theft. I think this is just an
Mm.
identity theft. So I said, okay, fine. So, like, so now what? How should we
Right.
go about this?
Right.
And at which point he was like, now my senior officer, who's the actual
Mm.
CBI officer in charge, is
Right.
just going to quickly speak with you, because we do have the ability to kind of give that clarification still. It's in our power.
Right.
So I said, okay, fine. So we went through with that. I want to say this third actor was a really bad actor, because I have really dealt with a lot of IPS officers, and there's a certain
Mm.
way, there's a certain
Mm. Mm.
panache that they
Yeah.
have. They don't really scream at people easily. That's, I
Right.
mean, I don't know what media
I know.
portrayal is,
I
but
know.
they are
Yeah.
not like that.
Yeah.
Then,
True.
so this guy was the opposite. He was the most aggressive between the telecom department guy, this cop, and he
Mm.
was like, "Kaun hai ye? Isko jaldi arrest karo," something.
Mm.
And I was
Mm.
like, "What nonsense!"
Mm.
Like,
Mm.
and I remember thinking at this point, I was
Right.
like, "Okay, this is a false case, and
Right.
either this is obviously a scam, or
Right.
I am actually getting framed."
Mm.
And I think the second part was very like a real fear for me. Like, I was
Right.
just very nervous, because there is a
Mm.
lot of that happening. And so
True.
I was like, okay, I have to go through with this so that
Mm.
nothing in this is going to be used against me. That was
Right.
my whole
Right.
psychology.
Right.
And
Right.
so I said, I remember at some point saying, so I need to know what your name is. So he was
Right.
like, how can you ask me? Well, I said, no,
Mm.
I said, I'm really sorry, but I do need to know.
Mm. Mm.
Uh,
Right.
and then again, his ID was sent to me. So they said,
Right.
this is our ID. So
Mm.
I said, it is very difficult for me to trust this call, because your
Trust or
video is
believe.
not on.
Right.
So I said, your
Right.
video is not on, my video
Mm.
is on, and I don't feel comfortable
Correct.
with this. So he
Right.
said that, did you not take that oath, and we made you take that oath,
Mm.
and this and
Mm.
that and all.
Mm.
So, and I remember
Mm.
my phone was ringing, my mother was calling, and I said,
Mm.
she's a patient, I need to pick this. So
Right.
I told them at some point, you started this call by saying it's 30 minutes, and it's nearly now
Right.
1.5 hours. And I
Correct.
have, a life and work and people and family to
Mm.
attend.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And they were like, no, you have to finish this. and
Right.
we will finish it soon. So I said, I will not reveal. And again, at this point, I said to this guy, I got a little cheesed off with him also. I just said, I'm not
Right.
going to be able to reveal any confidential data. If you want to question me on anything confidential, I am willing to go to the local police station here. That's
Right.
the most I can do. Or
Right.
you all can come
Right.
meet me in my office. I'm here right now.
Mm.
So they
Mm.
took my address. They took
Right.
my residential address in Mumbai. They took my current
Mm.
address where the place I'm at. So he said, no, that is not required. And anyways, he
Mm.
said, Savant, did you ask her any confidential
Mm.
information? He's like, no, I
Mm.
just asked her where she
Mm.
works or
Mm.
some nonsense. So,
Mm.
so he's like,
Mm.
we have not asked you anything. So I said, that's also
Right.
true. They have not actually asked me anything.
Right.
And also I was losing patience. I was on the same chair for like nearly 2 hours at
Yeah.
this point,
Yeah.
right? So I could not move. I could not avert my eyes. It was very
Mm.
stressful. So that
Right.
point, I think towards the end, and this is again where wedding.com helped me. So they asked me, by the way, to read out. They said,
Mm.
at this point, they said your number, your Aadhaar is also linked to a Canara bank account, which has been
Mm.
involved in this money laundering. Because I asked them, I said, what is
Right.
the evidence that this is linked?
Right.
So they
Right.
said Canara bank account, and they read out an account number. And I
Right.
said, I said, I've never been to a Canara bank. So he said,
Mm.
what is the process for starting a bank account? Tell me. And he was screaming at
Mm.
me at this point.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I said, KYC, and you have to walk into a bank account. You can't just open an
Mm.
account even online now. Like you have to
Right.
submit all documents.
Right.
And I said, other thing is, I said, so I was very confident throughout. I said that, look, I've never visited a Canara Bank branch in my entire
Right.
life, even to
Right.
withdraw money. So I said that
Mm.
I want to know what is the date of opening of this account, because
Mm.
then
Mm.
I'm happy to go and view the CCTV footage, because it'll be very
Right.
obvious that I never went in over there. Even if I said, see, till you said a SIM card has been purchased with my Aadhaar,
Mm.
I could
Mm.
believe this. I said, now that you're saying a bank account has been opened with my Aadhaar, this makes no sense. So he said, are you
Right.
trying to question me? So I
Mm.
said, no, I'm just trying to say that I'm unwilling to go through with this. And I said, I think,
Right.
at this point, I even said, I think I should bring my lawyer on board. And once
Mm.
my lawyer
Mm.
comes in, only then I think it makes
Right.
sense for us to go ahead. So he said,
Right.
okay, just tell us. He said, so because of this,
Mm.
RBI is going to investigate all of your transactions for the last
Mm.
2
Right.
years. So I said,
Right.
okay, sure. So and all they kept grilling, they kept screaming at me was, are you sure all of your money is 100% legal? And they asked me all my income sources. Do
Mm.
I have money in crypto? How much money do I
Mm.
have in shares? How much money do I have in the account? All of that, right?
Mm.
And
Mm.
I answered everything honestly. Then they asked me in front of them to open my bank account, and
Mm.
uh, and I said, no, I need to know what the rest of this question is, because I won't open my
Mm.
account until then.
Mm.
So
Mm.
they said, we just need to know your bank balance. And I
Right.
remember thinking, what can I do? So I was like, okay, I'm just going to quickly. So I opened it and I just said, this is the amount. And I said it,
Right.
in a broad number. So they said, no, we want you
Right.
to read out the exact number down to the paisa. So I
Mm.
said, okay, I read it out and then I logged out immediately.
Mm.
And then I
Mm.
logged into the other one also, I said it. And I
Mm.
remember like one of the accounts has a very tiny amount, like because the account that's linked to GPay, I
Mm.
usually keep a
Mm.
very
Mm.
little amount because of
Right.
this, because of financial frauds.
Right.
And
Right.
he asked me 3 times what that number is, because he could not believe that
Mm.
number was so small. And then he started screaming at me,
Right.
because at this point, even
Right.
they have lost their patience. It's
Mm.
2 hours.
Mm.
It's like,
Mm.
you said your income is so much and you earn so much. What is this
Right.
number? And
Right.
he said, how much money do you have in FDs? I said, no, I can't reveal that,
Mm.
because it was all. So he said, RBI has to investigate. I said, so if RBI wants to investigate, honestly, all they
Mm.
need is my name.
Right.
They'll get my PAN card and they can
Right.
investigate. They don't have to call you and you don't have to call me for this. This
Right.
makes no sense. So he said, are you trying to
Right.
say I'm fooling you?
Mm.
So I remember at this point, I just smiled and I said, no, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying
Mm.
that I did not open any account. I said,
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
repeatedly, since you are recording this, I'd never opened a Canara Bank account. I didn't
Mm.
purchase the SIM card.
Mm.
You want to investigate my accounts, you can. So he said, okay,
Right.
RBI is going to freeze your accounts for the
Mm.
next few days for
Mm.
investigation. So I said,
Mm.
okay, sure, no problem.
Mm.
Go ahead with that also.
Mm.
This point, he said, can you transfer all of your money from one
Mm.
of your accounts to another one of
Mm.
your accounts? Just
Mm.
like an internal, like not even an internal, like bank
Right.
to bank
Right.
transfer, but in
Right.
my name.
Right.
And I remember there was a similar case on wedding.com where a girl is just saying that, she just has to transfer it to her own account. I don't remember the
Right.
details, but she does lose
Mm.
the money.
Right.
And he said, okay, once you do it, you have to, he dictated a self-declaration form I have to
Mm.
write out and submit.
Mm.
So
Right.
he dictated it, and at this point, I didn't even write. I was just like, ha ha. So
Mm.
he said, okay,
Mm.
now do it and then sign the form and send it.
Mm.
So I said, okay, I'll do it. I said, I'm going to close this call and then do it. So he said, no, you have to do it
Right.
on this call.
Right.
So at this point, I said, no, I can't do it on this call. So he was like, why? I said, firstly, because I need to turn off my phone
Mm.
to use my phone. I
Mm.
can't you do it while. So he's saying, no, no, you can turn off video or whatever.
Mm.
But so I said, no, I can't.
Mm.
And I said, so he said, are you disobeying me?
Mm.
So I think I also just lost. I said, I'm not disobeying you. I'm just saying I'm not going to do it right now.
Mm.
That's all I'm saying. And he said, so are you saying that you are indeed involved in this money
Mm.
laundering case? So I said,
Mm.
no, I'm again repeating, I'm not involved in this case. So he said,
Mm.
I can issue an arrest warrant right now because all the
Mm.
evidence stands against you and your
Right.
Aadhaar number.
Mm.
I don't know what got into me. I just said, okay. I said, go ahead.
Mm.
So
Mm.
he said, you
Mm.
know what you're saying.
Mm.
We can send the police right now to your address.
Mm.
Your
Right.
parents are there.
Mm. Mm.
Imagine what it'll look
Mm.
like. You are going to
Mm.
lose your job.
Right.
All of this. And he ran me through and he said, even the first time you're going to get a court hearing, when you can actually,
Mm.
you're saying you'll get a lawyer. He said it's going to be
Mm.
45 to 60 days by the time you get your
Mm.
first hearing. And I know this,
Mm.
right? Even I understand this. I said,
Mm.
yes, I understand it. Even
Right.
then, I'm saying, that's
Right.
fine. I said, if you're giving me an ultimatum, then
Mm.
so be it. I said,
Right.
so he said, so what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to disconnect this
Mm.
call. And I disconnected the call.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a lot of pressure. I was alone, like
Yeah.
for this entire 2 hours. I
Right.
cried for a bit,
I
let out
can
the
imagine. I
steam.
can.
And
Mm.
then I tried to call Mumbai police, which
Right.
I tried to use a landline number because
Mm.
I'm in a different state right now. I'm not in
Yeah.
Maharashtra.
Yeah.
And she was like, firstly, she's like, this is the emergency helpline.
Mm.
आपका साइबर
Mm.
क्राइम है तो वो दूसरा
Mm.
हेल्पलाइन नंबर है. So I
Right.
said, ma'am, cyber में भी तो emergency हो
Mm.
सकता है. What is this
Right.
conversation? So
Right.
she's like, no, 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 no. This is emergency helpline. And she gave me some
Mm.
number. Then again, I kept getting connected to this state's police. Then
Right.
finally, a friend took me on
Mm.
conference and
Mm.
called the Mumbai police and
Mm.
did a
Mm.
conference call for me to get in touch with Mumbai police. And their first
Right.
response was, "Oh, ऐसे calls आते रहते हैं. आपके
Mm.
साथ
Mm.
fraud हुआ है. पैसे गए क्या आपके?" So I
Mm.
said,
Mm.
नहीं, पैसे नहीं गए. तो
Mm.
फिर क्या आप टेंशन मत लो. अभी सब बैंकिंग
Mm.
पासवर्ड्स बदल दो एंड
Mm.
ऐसे calls को इग्नोर करने का. And I said, sir, it's not about me. Your identity
Right.
has been stolen, right? Your ID cards
Correct.
have been stolen. Letters have
Right.
been stolen because they sent me all those letters. And he
True.
said, नहीं नहीं हम लोगों ने ये बहुत सुना है, कोई बात नहीं, आप
Mm.
इग्नोर करो.
Mm. Mm.
And yeah, and like I told you as well, Gautam, I think that
Yeah.
whole day I just spent
Yeah.
wondering how I was so stupid. Like, how did I
Right.
fall for this? I work
Right.
with the government. I know how this
Right.
operates.
Right.
I don't know how I fell for it. And there was a lot of
Mm.
shame. I
Yeah.
think a lot of shame. So I wasn't even like, it took me some time to even like talk about it to my friends or to my family.
Right.
It
Right.
was really hard.
Mm.
Yeah, because I just felt like, everyone thinks that people who go through a financial fraud, the first thing everyone says is, how can you be so stupid? And by the way, I
Of
told you,
course.
if I had a penny
Yeah.
for every time someone's asked me that this week, it would
Right.
be great. Like I would have really become like something, a millionaire for sure.
Right.
But
Right.
I remember thinking like, why did I fall for it? And I
Mm.
think I was just trying to cooperate with the investigation, and there was
Mm-hmm.
so much of paperwork that they sent me, which all
Right.
had my name and my Aadhaar number, that
Right.
it was really hard to think that it is indeed a scam. Yeah. So
Right.
thanks.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that was quite intense. First of all, because wedding.com has been mentioned thrice, I should clarify this is not a paid promotion for
No,
wedding.com.
no, it's not.
But wedding.com is actually a good docu-series by Tanuja Chandra. It's currently streaming on Amazon Prime, where they've actually spoken to victims of financial frauds that have been carried out through matrimonial and dating and social media websites. So it is something all of us need to watch. Uh, yeah, and like we have a comment here right now, they drowned you with information
Yeah.
that looked authentic enough,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think the crux of the matter and the main point we need to keep in mind is that information today is very freely available on the internet. The logo, the helpline numbers, pictures. There have been cases where serving IPS officers, including top cops and leadership positions, their uh, like bogus WhatsApp accounts have been opened in their name because somebody picked up a picture of them from the internet and used it as a display picture, and money has been asked from people. Police fund के लिए contribute करो, or we have a function coming up, or we have a tie up with an NGO, etc., etc. So we need to understand that this kind of impersonation is something that is very, very easy to do in the first
Yeah.
place. And it's also very easy to come up with convincing bogus ID cards. You have a logo over here, you have a picture of a man in a uniform. And once you see that, the not everybody reads the details. Like the pictures you sent me, Smita, they show Andheri East somewhere and Andheri somewhere. They show Mumbai police station in one instance. And these are details I might catch because I've been covering crime for the 16 years now, but everybody might not. So I think the first tip for all of us is to consciously read anything that comes out. That is the best way to catch these small inconsistencies and uh, just have an early warning system that this might be a fraud. Uh, Second most important point I'd like to mention is that if it's a financial fraud of this like this big a scope, if they are going to say it's the Naresh Goyal money laundering case, then the inquiry is not happening on video call. No inquiry happens on video call. No interrogation, no questioning happens on video call. You need to be present in a police station or in a CBI unit or in the ED unit, and this has to be done in person. So the one blanket rule you need to realize is that अगर आपके साथ में पुलिस इंक्वायरी हो रही है, वो वीडियो कॉल पे नहीं हो. No matter what anybody tries to convince you of. This is for everybody watching and everybody who might watch later. Investigations do not happen on video call. The minute somebody claiming to be a police officer says to you that you are the target of an investigation, आपका bank account इसमें linked लग रहा है, and you're a suspect and there are transactions, just say, okay, thank you for informing me. Anything more you need to ask, you either send a team to my place or summon me to a police station or send me a legal summons. And I think 85 to 90% of scams have failed because the intended victims have had the presence of mind to say this much only. Because the one major factor here is to not get intimidated. These people capitalize on your fear.
Yeah.
These people capitalize on the intimidation you feel. Like Smita, I'm sure in the initial few minutes, you felt some kind of apprehension or some kind of intimidation that, "Arey, kya ho gaya? How did I get caught in the middle of this?" That must have gone through your mind at least once, right?
So, I mean, I think I remember at some point when they raised their voice, and I mean, that's just a blanket rule also. Like, I always, when someone raises their voice, I just say that, look, I'm
Mm.
keeping my cool and I'm
Right,
cooperating with you, which is what you're
right,
asking me to do.
correct.
I do not want you to raise your voice at me because
Mm.
if you raise your voice, I'm not even going to go through with this. So I
Right,
think like, I
right.
just laid that boundary very early, like saying that
Mm.
I will not go through with this call only actually. So
Right.
so that was like one thing. And I think someone's asking me how did I keep my
Yeah,
cool?
yeah.
It's not like I
I was
did
going to come to that.
entirely. It is not
Right.
entirely like I think there was a point between those two hours. At some point I cried. And that
Mm.
was because actually I was repeatedly receiving calls from my mom and I could not pick up the call. So I think it
Right,
was the anxiety of it was feeling like prison, right? Like it does
right.
feel like, oh, like you are blocked out
Yes,
from the
yes.
world is blocked out from you. And I was like, what if she
Right,
needs something
right.
urgently and I'm not able to even, do that. So I think that anxiety, did kind of
Yeah.
take over at that point. But
Also, the
I
other
think
games they were
one
playing, that one of them was playing good cop, the other was playing bad cop,
correct. But
continuously
I
on a
think,
video call.
yeah, I think, having understood that whole psychology, like I said, which I learned from that show, was
Right, right,
that I cannot allow them to know that I'm scared. Because my
right,
fear is
right,
exactly what they're going to capitalize on. And
right.
and this guy was like, oh, can you have a sip of water and all of that?
Mm,
And I was like, yeah, I said,
mm,
I'm
mm.
fine. And they
Right.
kept saying, oh, be calm, don't panic. And I kept saying, no, I'm not panicking. In fact, at some point, I remember they were like, they
Mm,
sent me this document, right, which says that if you have an ongoing case with the
mm.
ED or with the CBI,
Right.
the first thing is you can't be employed, you can't leave the country, and all of that.
Mm,
And
mm,
he was like, the first thing is you're going to lose. He said, this fancy job, and I'm currently consulting with the government. So he's like, you think you're like this fancy person, तुम्हारा job अब जाएगा. And I just
Right.
joined this, like I said. So I said, कोई बात नहीं sir, नया job है, salary भी नहीं मिलना है, चलेगा. And he got so mad at me. He was
Right.
like, what is this response? And
Right.
I just said,
Right.
ha, no problem. I said, naya job hai. I said,
Right.
chalega, like, no problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, I was just like, I can't allow them to get under my skin.
Right.
And
Right.
that
Right.
was, and I think that chit that I placed in front of me was super helpful. And I think it was also a bit confusing because they were not asking me any of that. They were just not
Right.
asking
But they
me
had
any
your
of
Aadhaar number. They already knew your
had
Aadhaar number, right?
they had my
They read
Aadhaar
it out.
number.
Yeah.
They
Neerja has
had the
made a
last
similar
four
comment there.
digits, and then they
Hmm.
asked me to share my Aadhaar number. So I
Right.
that was the point when I said I will not share it until I know that you are from the Mumbai police, and that's when they shared their IDs.
Right.
So
Right.
against my
Right.
ID, against their IDs, I sent my Aadhaar.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
they said, remember I said they put me on hold and the
Right.
music and all playing. That was when
Right.
all those letters were prepared with my Aadhaar, with my name and
Right.
with my
Right.
Aadhaar number.
Right. Neerja has made a comment saying that I think our phone numbers are taken by all these companies who spam us with calls and SMS, and I'm sure they sell our data to these fraud call centers. Guys, I have further bad news for you on this front. The dark web is a thriving marketplace where data is the new oil. It is the most expensive commodity on the dark web right now. And the worst news is that data is very, very easy to get. Right? A lot of these coffee shop chains or restaurants or hotels, any commercial establishment which takes your data, they take your phone numbers, they take your address, sometimes your Aadhaar number. They don't store these in very secure servers. Their servers are not secure. Something as simple as a Rail Yatri, which was hacked around 2 years ago. And I know this because I had managed to get to the hacker who had hacked it and had a exclusive interview with him with Hindustan Times 2 years ago. He told me he just had to get into the official email of one of the Rail Yatri employees, and he got to the server and he got the entire data of millions of Rail Yatri users, their names and their address and their phone number, and they just dump the entire data on the dark web just to make a point. Cybercriminals will visit these darker forums. They will take this data, they will sell it to other less expert cybercriminals who don't have dark web expertise, and they'll make money. These cybercriminals will start cold calling people like Smita or everybody else, saying that we are from the ED, we are from the CBI, or we have a loan offer for you, or we have an upgrade for your credit card, or we have a upgrade on your policy, and try to cheat you out of your money. So your data is the least secure and yet the most expensive commodity on the internet right now. And yes, this data is shared across companies. One company sells it to another company. Fraud loan apps, genuine loan apps which give you loans for low interest rates, but then use illegal methods to retrieve the loans, to recover the loans. All of them have at least your phone number and maybe your PAN number, maybe your Aadhaar card number. There was an instance 6 months ago where this cyber expert, ethical hacker, cybersecurity researcher had shown how Aadhaar card numbers and the biometrics connected to it could be stolen from a West Bengal government website within 10 to 15 months. So simply the fact that they seem to have your phone number and Aadhaar number does not automatically mean that they are genuine or they are law enforcement. It does not. It is one more thing we need to keep in mind. And Aishwarya has a very important question. Isn't there a process, mandate, rule that in any conversation, investigation involving female complainants or accused, a female representative of the investigation agency has to be present? Let me say this about this question. Yes, always, in all instances. There is no exception where a female suspect or accused can be questioned or inquiries can be made or statement recorded without a female cop being present. Smita, were you able to trace how your Aadhaar was leaked?
No, I mean I guess just no, I wasn't able to. And the thing is that I mean, just another instance, like I think probably about a month back, I was walking
Hmm.
out of a mall and I got somebody at the mall stopped me and said, you could
Right.
win a lucky prize. So do you want to take this? And I was like, okay,
Hmm.
sure. And then he just was like, okay, can you fill up this
Right.
database? And the database
Right.
had Aadhaar. And I was like,
Never
I
do that.
don't want your, yeah, I was like, I don't
Never.
want your
Never would.
prize.
Yeah.
And
Right.
he was like, but why?
Hmm.
So, and it's hilarious because I'd seen 50 people had filled up their Aadhaar details on a
Hmm. Hmm.
random
Hmm.
notebook in a mall.
Right.
And I was like, no,
Right.
and I
Right.
said, how dare you ask this information? Who are you? And I don't want
Right.
this. He said, नहीं, ऊपर
Right.
से order आया है that
Hmm.
we have to collect Aadhaar
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
be able to
Hmm.
give this prize away.
Right.
So, I mean, people do ask Aadhaar for all sorts of strange reasons, but no,
Hmm.
I usually don't share it. So, where they
Hmm.
got the last four digits from,
Right.
I still don't.
It could
I
be
called
anywhere.
both my
It could.
banks. I called
Yeah.
both my banks and I asked them that can anything be done, and they said no. Like with this information, nothing can
Honestly,
be
it
done.
is just yeah, yeah. Not, it could be literally anywhere. So we have we actually have no way of knowing that. Hi Gautam, does it hold true even for phone conversation with an accused? If you are talking about the female officer part, there are two layers to this. One layer is that an interrogation or a questioning cannot happen over a phone at all or over a video call. So it does not matter anyway. And secondly, if it's an actual interrogation, it has to be in person with a female cop present. Honestly, even
Uh,
the guy who takes a Xerox copy of your Aadhaar
by the way,
has
they
your
brought
number.
this up. So a lot of the
Mhm.
conversation was them telling me how मुझे
Right.
सतर्क रहना चाहिए
Mhm.
and आपने देखो कभी
Mhm.
किस अपना आधार दिया होगा फोटोकॉपी के लिए.
Right.
So I was like,
Right.
नहीं,
Right.
मैंने कभी नहीं दिया है. So they were like, no, when you
Right.
leave the photocopy center, you should destroy it. So
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
were. It was
Mhm.
completely them telling me always I
Right.
should save myself from a fraud. That was the whole
Mhm.
conversation.
Right. Right. Exactly. We are 50 minutes into the live, and I would like to come to the most important part of what we are trying to establish here. Something that Smita mentioned that when she tried to tell people about this, including the law enforcement, the attitude was absolutely uh, pathetic. Let us begin with the people around us. If we are going to face or confront this menace headstrong, you need to always remember it is never the victim's fault. Anybody who comes to you for help saying मेरे साथ ये हुआ या होते होते बच गया, please do not start with how could you be so stupid or any version of that in any degree. It really does not help because that person has already had that conversation with themselves, asking themselves, how could I be so stupid? They did not come to you to hear that. And as far as the law enforcement is concerned, we need to get rid of this mentality कि अगर पैसे नहीं गए हैं तो कुछ नहीं हुआ है. Even in this case, अगर पैसे नहीं गए हैं, these people have Smita's Aadhaar card number. That by itself is a crime, and that needs to enter their records that somebody has managed to obtain somebody's Aadhaar card number without their consent. That is a crime. It's data theft. Plus, like Smita said, there's impersonation of a government servant, multiple counts of impersonation, fraud, forgery, etc., etc., coupled with the use of the internet, automatically qualifies this as an FIR under the Information Technology or IT Act. So, to everybody listening in over here, yes, it's a crime to have Aadhaar details without consent. Aadhaar is a very personal thing; it's linked to your biometrics, so there has to be consent involved. The best way, whenever this happens, is to not instead of calling a control room and being at the mercy of their mood. The best way is to go to www.cybercrime.gov.in and enter an online complaint in writing. This is something I always tell people because that is the National Cyber Crime Reporting Portal. The moment your complaint enters the system, there is a mechanism to check how many complaints were received, how many were addressed, and why those that were not addressed were not addressed. There is accountability. There's stock taking. There are also measures in place to forward that complaint to your concerned police station based on the location that you enter while entering your complaint. And it's proven to be quite an effective one, especially where money has been lost. If you record your complaint through this portal. There are mechanisms to automatically freeze that transaction with the bank, and after a month or two, reverse the transaction. People have got their money back. I still get calls from people who I recommend this to, saying कि sir 2 हफ्ते लगे पर पैसा मिल गया. So it is something we all need to really, really remember a lot. Summing it up, I think like everybody on the live is saying, Smita, hats off to you. You displayed great presence of mind, and you were very patient in your recounting of the entire ordeal today. It could not have been easy. Thank you for that. Thank you for agreeing to come on the live with me. Uh, Avoid receiving calls from unknown numbers.
Yeah. I wanted to
Truecaller
ask you
users,
how do
yeah.
we do that? Like,
Uh,
so
so
what is like other than Truecaller,
I
is there nothing else?
So I am using Truecaller, very honestly. I am using Truecaller because Truecaller today has this wonderful community among its
Yeah.
users where they spam report the
Yes.
spammers. So
Yes.
it helps me
Yes.
filter out a lot. And
Yeah.
it's never happened that I have answered a call which does not have a spam report and it's turned out to be a fraud or a spam. So it's quite a trustworthy user generated system, which I personally trust till date.
But why
Secondly,
does
whoever
iPhone
calls,
block it out? Why does iPhone
uh,
block out Truecaller?
गरीब पत्रकार हूँ मैं एंड्रॉइड यूज करता हूँ
मुझे
इतनी
भी नहीं पता
महंगी
मेरे
बात तो मैं
हाथ
नहीं
में
जानता
पकड़ाया गया है. No, but I'm serious because like the thing is
yeah
that is like and I know my phone number by the way has been, I wanted
mm,
to share this also. My phone number has been
mm.
leaked. My number has been leaked at
Yeah,
least a couple of
mine
times in the
too.
last few months. Every time I Google, and because I was looking for property
Yeah,
like to rent,
yeah,
so that is one set of people, and they are a horrible set of people who, if they have your number. And the other is because I said I was
yeah.
moving cities, packers and movers. And the
Oh yes,
level of spam calling I got.
oh yes, oh yes, oh
So
yes.
that's where this has
Mm,
also happened. But I don't know, other than Truecaller, how do you kind of really check for spam?
mm.
And the moment
There
I
are some
hung up,
online
yeah,
repositories which we can put together. I'm trying to put together like a list of these open source resources we can use. But it's still a work in progress, so I don't want to give out half-baked information over here because it might be misleading. So that is something I'm working on. But yeah, that and anybody who claims to be a cop on the call and gets aggressive with you or gets overly friendly with you, it's a red flag. If there is a complaint against you, the inquiry has to be in person. There is literally no way around this, guys. There is no मतलब कबड्डी का वो लाइन नहीं कि यहाँ तक चलेगा यहाँ तक नहीं चलेगा. अगर कंप्लेंट है तो मुझको पुलिस स्टेशन बुलाइए, मैं आ जाऊंगा एंड यू कैन आस्क मी. And there are a lot of technical things like you can't just be arrested off the cuff like that because you're not cooperating. The police have to convince the court why your arrest was required, why it was imperative, etc., etc. But yeah, anybody who asks to share any personal information or your bank account number, etc., etc., do not do that. Safeguard your data very, very carefully, very fiercely, and uh, uh, instead of the local police helplines, the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal has a proven track record of a better system of action. So that is something I would recommend. Any last words, Smita?
no, I mean, I feel, I guess I feel angry. Like I think for a few days
It is
after.
completely valid. Your anger is completely valid.
Yeah, like I want to say that for like
Mm.
a few days, in fact, not even few hours, I would every couple of hours keep
Yeah.
checking my bank account. I would
Right.
constantly be
Right.
checking,
Right. Right. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just so worried about like, yeah, my phone. Have I taken any precautions? I called both my banks,
See,
changed
this is
passwords.
the aftermath
Yeah,
that we don't talk about enough. The
yeah,
apprehension, the anxiety, the anger. It is
yeah,
very real. It's a very, you might not exactly call it tangible
yeah.
in the true sense of the word, but it happens to you. It's something you go through.
Like I had to
We
call
have
my
RJ Archana with us,
Bombay.
by the way, guys. Archana ji, thank you so much for sitting through the entire life. And I agree with you. If nobody wants to give you money or opportunity, hand up. Best way.
Yeah, I had to also like inform my Bombay, like I had to inform my
Yeah,
dad
yeah,
that,
yeah,
Fox may
yeah,
potential,
yeah.
because I didn't know how much of it was real or not, right? Like, so I was like,
Of course.
somebody may come in. So like just be mentally prepared, right? So also
I know.
transferring that stress then to also my family. So yeah, I just feel like it would really have been very helpful if at least the police, like today I just feel like I haven't even been able to report that phone number. That's my
Right.
thing. Like, forget that
Right.
they took my
Right.
Aadhaar. I'm just
Right.
saying that that phone number can call the next, like, and the next day, someone sent me a news article of,
Hmm.
someone who
Hmm.
posted about it, and someone also lost money. So I just feel
Right.
ki, at least one thing is I probably saved someone else by wasting their two
Hmm.
hours.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Hmm. Hmm.
other
Hmm.
than
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
no one even has that phone number. It's not reported. On Truecaller, I reported it immediately, but there was no
Right.
other
Right.
place. I
Right.
just could not.
Right. I would still recommend you enter a online complaint on the portal, if to make sure that those numbers are in the police's records
I
as
wanted
fraud
to, but the
numbers.
first thing the
Hmm.
Mumbai police told me when they said, why don't you
Hmm.
do this online? But then you have to also come back to the police station here. And I was like, okay, right now,
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
firstly,
Hmm. Hmm.
mentally, I didn't have the bandwidth.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm also
Right.
not there. So I was like, I need to take some time off because Mumbai
True.
police
True.
is,
True.
is making this my burden, rather than
Right.
helping me.
Right.
They're
Right.
like,
Right. Right.
you turn
Right.
up, you do this, you do that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
bhai,
Yeah.
all you need to take is a phone number that you need to
Yeah.
find out that someone's playing you with the
Right.
Mumbai police logo, with all of that. I said, you may want to just at least take action against that phone number. That's all I'm
Right.
asking. And nobody took that. Yeah. So
Right.
I'm sad. I
It
guess
it
they'll
does.
just cancel.
Yeah. It says a lot about the police if they are not interested in doing anything about people who are impersonating them at the end of the day. So I think it's. I mean, I don't know what to say beyond that. So yeah. Thank you so much, Smita, for
Sure.
your time and for agreeing to this. Thank you, everybody who attended, and it's been a great session, I think. And thank you for people who joined an hour ago and have stayed with us for an hour. I know it can't have been easy. It's Sunday evening. If you guys know anybody else who would like to share their experiences, you know where to find me. I am really trying to make this a regular thing because, like I said, we don't talk about the victims enough, and we need to do that on a larger level. So I think, as much as I love my webinars, I would like to do this more and more often now that I am self-employed and I have more control over my own time. So anybody you think might want to talk to me on a live like this, or if they want to email their experience to me and I can get somebody else to read it out on the live and then discuss, we can do that as well. So please keep that in mind. Get in touch and be safe, be vigilant, take care. Thank you so much for everybody who listened. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Gautam.
Thank you, Smita. Take care.